Hi, I'm Dr. George Yancey. Let's share some paradigms. The paradigm I want to share today concerns identity politics and men. Now, you may be wondering why I want to talk about identity politics and men, and let me go ahead and go into that. There's a lot of talk about toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. What it generally means is that masculine traits, sometimes they're exaggerated, sometimes not so exaggerated, are seen in a very negative light. There's little talk about toxic femininity. I mean, if we are all image bearers, but all fallen, it makes sense that there be things that men do that tend to be toxic and things that women do that tend to be toxic. Yet we don't talk about that. You ever wonder why? I would argue it's the framework of identity politics that we've developed. The framework of identity politics is that there's oppressors and the oppressed. Now, the oppressors, understandably, are going to have negative behaviors, negative attributes that we're going to give to the oppressors. That makes sense. The oppressed, not so much. We see them as victims. So we don't see anything that they may be doing that's wrong or evil or bad. That seems like that's unfair. That seems like you're picking on people who are already been picked upon, right? How does that play itself out? Well, with toxic masculinity, when we focus in on that, what does that do? It says the problems of our society when it comes to the sexes is all about men. If you are a man who feels alienated from society, there's nothing that's happened to you. Your masculinity is probably part of the problem. That is not very sustainable for a variety of different reasons. And so let's look at this. Let's parse this out a little bit more. When we think about it in this way, we ignore issues that impact men. Let's just take one issue. The rate of suicide for men is about 4 times the rate of suicide for women. Now, how do we react to that? Do we think, wow, what's creating this rate of suicide? What should we do to stop it? Or do we think there's something wrong with these men? Why are they committing this suicide? Maybe it's because they no longer have the advantages they used to have. What if we reverse that? What if it was true that the rate of suicide for women was 4 times the rate of suicide for men? Would we be reacting differently? Would we not be talking about a patriarchal society that's creating this atmosphere that's leading to suicide? So why aren't we thinking about what in our society is creating this sort of notion of suicide that men apparently have? These are things that we need to think about more carefully if we're going to address the issues of men. Now, some may be thinking, look, men make more money than women, men have more status than women, men have power over women culturally. Why should we care about what happens to men? And I would say that being a man does not mean you're not marginalized. We should care about marginalized people no matter what. Homeless men, men on substance abuse, men who are unemployed. These are marginalized men. We should care about them. But beyond that, if we don't, where do they go? They often go to places we don't want them to go. There are influencers today who are leading men down a dark path, not just for themselves, but for us as a society. We do not want men going down those paths. But if we don't offer them anything other than critique, what do you expect? When these people who are leading this dark path give them affirmation, say you're not just a toxic mess. There are good things about being a man. Embrace that. And then they lead them towards a darker path. Why are you surprised that men are going down that path? What we need to do is to create a positive male identity, and one that's not merely placating some of the more feministic type of demands that are out there. A man has to be more than just someone who serves women. I mean, I think that's part of my masculinity. You know, I want to serve my wife, I want to serve. But if I'm told that's all that I am, then yeah, some certain voices become more attractive to me. We need to think about solutions that solve the problems for men and women, and not just for women. Identity politics leads us to only solve the problems for women and helps to create some of these problems that we see. Our Christian faith talks about human depravity, says we are all suffering from human depravity. So we all have responsibilities. We cannot build a society blaming one group more than the other. Now here's a radical idea, and one that may be controversial. Depravity matters for both people who are oppressed and are oppressors, even when there truly is oppression. Some of the marginalized men, I think that's a really bad framework, oppressors. But even if a man is an oppressor, he is a child of God too. And if we don't try to solve the problems that he faces, then we are not doing what God wants us to do. People who are oppressed can sin. And we're not addressing that. Once again, we fall short of living out our Christian values. Christianity offers solutions for everyone, not equal roles. I'm not saying that the same thing we offer men is the same thing we offer women, but we will challenge women and we will comfort men as the situation calls for it. And we can build a healthy male identity, masculinity that's healthy, rather than just call masculinity toxic or sick. This is a challenge. It's a strong challenge. I know there's women out there who've been burned by men, and I hate seeing men abuse women. This is not to placate that, but we got to offer more than just critique of men. We want to draw them to a healthier life, not just for themselves, but for the rest of our society. Does this seem a radical thing to you? Does this shatter some paradigms? Get you thinking? Yeah, there's not easy answers. I know people can take what I'm saying and distort it and twist it, but I think we have to ask hard questions and look for nuanced ways to solve these problems. If you want to join me in a journey of doing that, please consider joining this channel, subscribing, listening to some more of my videos, entering the conversation, commenting. If you disagree with me, comment. These are the sort of things I want to try to build. I want to try to find a Christian way based in sociological understanding and faithful intellectual considerations to go forward. Thanks for coming, and I hope you come back. We can shatter some more paradigms.